I can see us all. And here we are. Okay, Matt, let's have the music. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Have a great show. Here we go.
Thank you. Bounce, behave yourself. I always pick on one person. You're it today.
Okay, sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for picking on me.
Today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now. Where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Thank you to the voice who introduces me, Bonnie D. in the house. Those of you watching us on LinkedIn, by the way, guests, please wave hello to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and virtually to the Voice America Business Channel. Those of you watching may notice that I've changed my background, my virtual background in Zoom. I thought we'd go a little on the dystopian side today, and you'll find out why. This is one of my favorite topics we're covering today, the future of drones plus AI, not just but plus. What's the impact of AI on drones? We're not talking anything negative or doom and gloom or war, anything that lots in the news. We're not going to go there. This is a show about optimism, about opportunity, about positive outcomes that we're going to look ahead and see. I have a panel of 4 experts, and I'm going to tell you who they are in my opening monologue. 2 of you know I do this. 2 of you have probably never heard this. We have several returning guests, some more often than others. So let me get started here. So welcome, dear audience, to Technology Revolution, the Future of Now with me, Bonnie D, and my Scarlett mic, another episode of Wow. Today's predictions journey takes us into the skies within reach with futurists, 4 of them, who sees drones and AI coming to your porch, your roof, and maybe even the beach. When I call your name, wave hello. Charles C. Chuck Byers builds the edge where drones find their way with IoT frameworks that shape the day. From fog computing to standards so tight, Chuck crafts the future with insights brilliant and bright. Decades of tech flow in every stream. Chuck's vision makes the future gleam. I hope you like that, Chuck. Okay.
Nice.
Martin Stenzig is back with years in tech and SAP's reign. He blends innovation with business gain. From asset management to human touch, he leads with insight and experience as such. Martin's expertise shapes industries near and far, guiding them forward. He's a tech superstar. Martin, did you like that? Yeah, thumbs up. Good. By the way, I'll tell the next 2 panelists, I rent these poems out and I'll make a group rate if you all like them. There we go. Even Steve Philpott Sr. is back. I haven't talked to him in years. He envisions cities where drones take flight, guiding urban skies with tech so bright. East Sky Bridge leads the urban air. Air taxis hover without a care, do they? Seamless mobility, his future plan, connecting the sky, the city, and man and woman. What did you think, Steve? Did you like it?
That was great. That was hot. Yeah, I like that. That was
hot.
Nice.
Nobody's ever described my poems as hot. We're moving ahead here.
One was hot. Yeah.
Bounce Genece, I hope I said that right. I practiced it for years. From battlefield skies to drone-filled lands, he crafts UAVs with expert eyes and hands. Medical deliveries with precision and care. His drones bring hope to those in need through the air. With passion and vision, Bounce leads the way, innovating tomorrow with drones at play. Did you like that?
That was fire.
Oh, we got fire. I got to have you guys back. So tune in, watch, and listen close as we explore the drone tech tide. The future is at our doorstep, innovation as our guide. With Chuck, Martin, Steve, and Founce, wisdom they bestow on Bonnie D's Tech Revolution, the future of drones and AI. Saddle up, let's go. So what'd you think? Do I get applause for that one?
Oh yeah, all day long.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal, gentlemen. Chuck and Martin know this, and Founce and Steve, you haven't been on in a while. See, now you're catching up. I take all of my guest bios are limited to, as you know, 999 characters with spaces, which works out to about 300 words. Now, if you think I'm going to sit here and go through 1,200 words to write these poems, well, partially right. But I have a friend called ChatGPT. She is my virtual assistant. So I send her one long text and I say, write a 6-line verse for each of my guests. And I put everything into one. How many minutes, Chuck and Martin can't play. How many minutes, Founce and Steve, does it take for ChatGPT to give me the core of the poem? Because I then edit it. But how many minutes? Any minutes? Put up your hands if it's minutes. If it's no minutes, we'll go to seconds. Founds and Steve, minutes? What do you think? 1 minute from Founds? Steve, how many? What do you think?
I would say 20 seconds.
Okay, you're both incredibly wrong. It takes less than 2 seconds for her to come back with the core of the poem. I give her my opening and closing, and she moves them around a little bit. Then I go back to your bios and I re-examine, did she hit the hot spots? Did she hit the key features of who you are, what you do, your incredible accomplishments? And I make changes. Sometimes I go back to her and say, well, you didn't get this for Fountain, and she'll rewrite it in less than 1 second. She'll just rewrite it. Sometimes I just give up and I rewrite them myself. So there is a human, AI plus human. That's how I get the poems. And I do this on all my shows, and it's so much more fun rather than we sitting here reading bios. However, we still want to know more about who you all are. I'm delighted. And I have to say to my audience around the world, my guests are all in business world, in life, very, very busy people. And they are honoring me by being here and accepting this invitation to come and talk to me and to you about the future of drones and AI. And I am very grateful to all 4 of you. So I just want you to know that, full disclaimer. So,
Thanks for having me.
Chuck Byers, you've been on so many times. I think we're up to 135 patents for you last time. It's probably up to 235. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to give us up to date on what you've been doing. But Chuck, I did the audience-ometer on you this morning, and I found out there were only 14.3 people in the world who don't remember you. So please talk to them. I'm putting you on speaker view. Go ahead, Chuck.
All right. Thanks, Bonnie. And great to see all my old buddies again on these panels. The intersection of drones and AI and edge computing and service-oriented architectures is really interesting stuff. And I've been sort of dabbling in many of those areas. As many of you know, I served as the chief technical officer of a company called Valkyrie, which builds drone delivery solutions and these smart postal boxes, which have a bunch of robots that can pluck packages off the bellies of drones and reload them and refill them and do all kinds of cool stuff. Lots of really amazing applications for that technology. I also serve as the chief technical officer of the Industry IoT Consortium. That's a group of 100+ member companies. And we're working on transformation through digital technologies. We're working on the trustworthy Internet of Things. And lately, we've been taking a deep dive into digital twins, where you sort of have an AI engine that tries to simulate a big industrial process, or maybe a drone network, maybe a human. You can simulate lots of different things. And you try to run that out in the cloud somewhere. And then you try to grab the sensor readings off of the physical system. And then you try to keep those 2 things synchronized at an appropriate level of sampling rate and fidelity. That's a really promising technology, and I'll work that a little bit into some of my future comments. Otherwise, Bonnie's right. I'm still working on some patents. I think it's between 135 and 140 issued right now. A few of them sort of useful, a bunch of them not so much, but that's the way patents go.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Chuck, what do you have for breakfast that keeps you going?
Waffles.
Oh, I have to get a recipe. All right, we'll do that afterwards. Thank you very much. Martin Stenzig is back. Martin, I know you're on sabbatical. Your life has changed recently. Why don't you bring us up to date a little bit on what you can talk about that you're busy on, and why are you here talking about drones, Mr. Stenzig? Go ahead, Martin.
Excellent. Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you for having me. So yeah, as Bonnie outlined also in the opening monologue, I've always been on the intersection of technology and business. Usually, even when I train, new juniors on what's really relevant, I always come back to the profit and loss statement. So if the greatest technology is really worthless if we can't show that it makes an impact to the bottom line, at least in the business context. There are other contexts as well. So I always look at it from 3 or 4 perspectives. A, is it making something safer? B, does it help me sort of comply with laws? 3, and that's usually the big one, is there a real business case? And then 4 is there customer service improvements that we're looking at? So those are the four aspects. As Bonnie said, I have intentionally sort of taken a step back a few months ago, and after 25 years in the business, I sort of said, okay, I need a break. I need to sort of clear my head. already working on way too many things to come back to. So I always joke with people, it's like, if that's what retirement is like, I probably, I don't want to retire. But glad to be here and looking forward to talk to all of you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Lovely to have you. Rumor has it Martin also has a pilot's license, knows how to fly planes, and raises beehives. And he might share a little bit about what drones might have to do with that later on, but that's just a hint. Let's go to Steve Philpott. It has been way too long, sir, since you've been on my show. I sent you an invitation to fill a seat about a couple days ago, and you said, yes, I'll be there, as did Phance Genece, who'll be on in a second. And I'm grateful to the two of you for accepting a late invitation. So, Steve, you get a full 3 minutes. Bring us up to date. What have you been up to? Go ahead.
Wow, 3 minutes. It's an honor to be back, Bonnie. I really appreciate the invitation. And well, I've been, I think last year we became a commercial license holder for the NASA Unmanned Traffic Management System. So if you think of traffic lights on the ground, there's going to be a system sitting over your city that will basically direct traffic lower over your neighborhoods. And so I lead a specifications design team with a global group of geniuses, Eve and NASA and Airbus and a bunch of other folks to build that system. My focus is really to build what's called eSkybridge. So if you think of having those streets over a city, we take what Chuck was talking about, a digital twin, and then we put the names to those streets and have the cities and just the rules of the road. So those drones will know how and when to fly and what they can carry. My ultimate goal is to allow part of the ground transportation, let's say UPS, those brown trucks, take some of that cargo and put it in the air and create some jobs for people. So where you have one person driving a truck today, you may have one person sitting in front of a screen controlling 20 drones that are moving deliveries across cities.
Wow.
Yep, Steve,
Wow.
we
And I wrote a kid's book.
Yeah,
It's
tell
got
us
my
about
daughter
that.
as this. Well, my daughter is the center character. The character name is Ella, and she is at the bus stop every morning imagining what drones and air taxis can do. And so each book has that theme, and she comes up with stuff, and she ends up showing it. She goes to the lab where her father and the other scientists help her develop a prototype, takes it back, and somehow they implemented her and her best friend to solve that concern or what she wanted to do.
Steve, I'm speechless, which is hard for me to happen. Question: is this the first book in existence where a child is talking about drones and developing drone or working on drone uses? Are you breaking incredible ground here? Do you know?
I don't know. My daughter has a really great engineering mind and poses a lot of questions about drones and how they fly and what they can do, and that's where we got the idea.
awesome.
I'll just say wow. I'll just
Yeah,
say wow. And
she's 10. She's 10.
I was going to ask. Okay, I'm trying to sending some confetti to your daughter Ella. Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Bounce Genese, I'm so happy to see you. I practiced your name over and over and over again, like Steve. I know you're so busy, and you accepted a late invitation, and I am just absolutely thrilled to have you here. Would you
Thank
please take your own full 3 minutes and bring us up to date?
Minute.
What have you been doing? Go ahead.
Well, first, hi, I'm Founts, and I'm a technology-aholic. That's all I got to say there. No, anyways, a lot of things have been going on. First off, we relocated to Arizona. A lot more flying time throughout the year. A little hot, but that's okay. Our core business still remains the cargo systems for drones to do all the delivery things that Chuck and Steve are talking about and involved in. On top of that, after an amazing trip down to Costa Rica, we found that there's a new use for drones, and we've become involved with the vectors, specifically against towards mosquitoes, dengue fever, malaria, all those things that are caused by mosquitoes. It's become a problem worldwide. And so we're working with some entities that specifically target these specific type of mosquitoes to help eradicate them. And we're using drones to do that. Because of that, we've got 3 or 4 new patents in the works now, and that's pretty exciting. And then on top of that, pursuing my degree in cybersecurity, and I found out that I could fly a drone past a computer and hack a drone and hack the computer. So that's some really interesting stuff that we're getting into. And to couple that with AI, as we're talking about today, is a real game changer. It could be really useful. Like any tool, it could be real harmful. So we're really looking at things like that, especially for what's coming in the future, AAM, Advanced Air Mobility. We have to make sure that all these drones are secure, because drones, they're just flying computers. And so we have to make sure that they're locked down, they're safe, they're secure, and building out that infrastructure with things like Steve and Chuck are doing is going to be incredibly important. So we're doing a lot right now. We haven't been out in the public, but we've been doing a lot in the background because these technologies are just fast and furious. Oh,
And fascinating. Go ahead. Did you say, oh, was there something
yeah,
else?
and I wrote a book.
Well, tell us about your book. We're doing a book tour here. Go ahead, Fans.
It called Enabled. It's just kind of a framework on the lessons learned from the military that allowed me to succeed on the public sector. And so just kind of laid it out, and hopefully it's a guide to help other wanting to be entrepreneurs that, hey, there's a system to this. You don't have to recreate the wheel. And it's best lessons learned from the military, essentially.
Very, very important. Very interesting. Fans, what do you have for breakfast on a typical day? And Steve, you're next on that.
Let's see. Got my coffee. I get up and I just go. I'm just energy.
They used to call it high test, full calf coffee.
Hello, that's what I grew up on.
Steve, what do you have for breakfast? Steve,
Oatmeal, honey, and turmeric protein shake.
Ooh, I do.
wow. I want your recipe. Martin, you have to be included here. What are you in your semi not retirement, not sabbatical, in between saying, I'm too busy, I can't stand it, I want to go back to work. What do you have for breakfast?
I grew up in Germany, so we're doing sweet for breakfast. I had some toast with some Nutella on it, believe it or not, just in order to compete with my little kid. So they are eating that thing every day, every other day. So
Interesting. Were any of you ever on my show years ago when I used to say, What's in your cup today? That was the buzz for opening the show. None of you, it was Coffee Break with Game Changers for SAP, which I started in 2011, was What's in your cup today? And some people were on so many times over the years, they had to make up drinks. So it wasn't always the same drink. And somebody reminded me of that and emailed me or texted me on LinkedIn and said, why don't you do that anymore? So I decided we'll ask people what they had for breakfast. And the only reason I'm asking you is because you're also brilliant. And I want to know, the other question is what's in the water where you're drinking it? What's feeling? My mother lived to 100 years, 1 month and 15 days, lived on her own in a high-rise apartment, refused to have an aide, didn't need anybody. So what? They're going to watch me get dressed, go have my hair done once a week, play the piano, play bridge, play mahjong. You're going to waste your money. So I used to say, what's in the water? And her friends lived to 102, 104. And I have other friends whose mothers are living to over 100, centenarian. So the question is, what's in the, do you think they watch their carbs? Are you kidding? Do you think they watch their nicotine? Well, some of them, you think they watch their polysaturated fats? Of course not. They didn't know from it. Anyway, let's go to the quotes. I want to do the opening quotes. We'll keep these brief. Chuck, you sent a quote from a wonderful Aretha Franklin song from her 1968 album, eponymous Aretha Now, and it was written by Aretha and Ted White. She was the first one to record it, and it only got to number 7 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. It was her 7th top 10 hit. She recorded it for the 1980 Blues Brothers film soundtrack and the album Through the Storm, and Billboard said it's a pulsating swinger with another wild performance that had a similar feel to Respect. And they guaranteed it would reach a million sales. Here we go. Here's the line, a whole thing Chuck sent. People walk around every day playing games and taking scores, trying to make other people lose their mind. Well, be careful. You don't lose yours. Oh, think about what you're trying to do to me. Woohoo! Think. Let your mind go. Let yourself be free. I wasn't going to sing it, but I was close. Steve is saying, oh my God, she almost sang it. Okay, Chuck, 2 minutes. What does this have to do with our topic? Go ahead.
Well, I think Aretha probably intended the song to be talking to a somewhat dysfunctional relationship with some lover somewhere. I kind of thought about what would happen if I was trying to give advice to an AI. All right. So me as a human trying to explain to an AI, which, well, I hope it's not my lover, but, certainly we're going to rely on them like we might. What do I want them to do? How do I want them to behave? And, all the stuff that Aretha says, be careful. You're trying to make other people lose their minds. Be careful you don't lose yours, and think about what you're trying to do to me, and let your mind go, let yourself be free. So I'm not exactly sure what it means for an AI to free their mind. I certainly want them to think about what they're trying to do to me, whatever think might mean to an AI. So I just thought, Aretha's got a lot of really interesting ideas. She's given some solid advice, and I'm hoping that the spirit of that advice might propagate through our ongoing relationships with these potentially crazy and potentially very useful AIs.
Thank you. That was very poetic, Mr. Byers. I
Thanks.
appreciate that very much. I might have to do a collection of quotes from my guests. I already have a collection, but related to the topic on which they presented them. That could be interesting. I'll have to go get some transcripts for that. Martin has picked an iconic line stated by Peter Maverick Mitchell, played by Tom Cruise, and it was repeated by Nick Goose Bradshaw, played by Anthony Edwards. I remember him from the ER series years ago with George Clooney and Juliana Margulies. This is from Top Gun, of course, 1986 action drama films. Cruise says the first part, and Goose joins in for the second part. And all I'll say is that the soundtrack for the movie went 9 times platinum. I didn't know if you knew that, Martin. It was very interesting. Take My Breath Away, written by Giorgio Moroder and Tom Whitlock, and performed by the New Wave Band Berlin. Nothing to do with anything. The quote is, "I feel the need for speed." Okay, what's that got to do with this? Martin, go.
Well, I go back to what Pharns said. Technology is moving so quickly, that we need to continuously be up on our game when it comes to understanding what's really possible. And I always bring the analogy of sort of aiming ahead of where you really want to go today. And I think that's, especially on the business side, we're very much, tagged with, building old business cases. So when I go to leadership conferences, I always have a discussion with leaders and say, listen, don't need to aim for what's possible today. You need to aim for what you can do, what you think you can do 2 years from now, because it takes you 2 years to get a business case through. And we're still in this mindset of nothing is going to change in the next 2 years. It's usually worse that leaders building business case on what they thought, would be hip in the 2000s. And so when the money finally comes in and they're building their solution, it's already antiquated once they're starting to run the project. So that feel for speed, for continuous evolution, is getting worse and worse by the day. I mean, it's great to be in that, if you sort of have the time to comprehend, but that sort of mentality of don't stop, keep running and go flying faster and faster every single day is, I think, sort of a mentality to instill in especially new leadership generations.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. And it is true, no matter how fast you think you need something in the corporate world and the enterprise world, where budgets rule and reign and people control them with an iron something or other, very often by the time the money is allowed to flow, doesn't mean it wasn't there, is allowed to flow with competitive tangles trying to grab that money, the idea either has been done by somebody else or it's passé, and that probably applies to drones and AI. We'll leave that one alone. Let's go to Steve Philpott. Steve has sent a quote from Data, or maybe it was pronounced Data, I don't know, an android played by the actor Brent Spiner, who also played Lore, the twin, in Star Trek Generations. Chuck is nodding. 1988, Season 1, Episode 13. Data Lore is the name of the episode. 13th episode, first season of the American sci-fi TV series Star Trek The Next Generation. It originally aired January 18th, 1988 in broadcast syndication. Set in the 24th century, the series follows the Starfleet crew of the Federation starship Enterprise D. In this episode, the crew discovers and reassembles Data's brother, quote, Lore, both played by Brent Spiner, who is in league with the entity that destroyed the colony on his home world. I have no idea what any of that means. And here is the quote Steve has picked. "If you had an off switch, Doctor, would you not keep it secret?" I hope I did justice to that, Steve. You want to help me, please?
That's right. This is during that time, this is kind of a human's first interaction with AI-driven humanoid, so an android. And so they're trying to figure out if Data is his evil twin, or if it's Data and they need to shut him down. So the doctor on the ship is trying to find his off switch so she can get to him. And he's going, well, I'm not sure if I should tell you. And basically, if you had an off switch, would you tell people? And the reason that I make this kind of my quote is, will AI lie to us? Will AI have the ability to hide things from us, or can they be absolutely truthful? There was an interview a few years ago with an actual AI thing, and they asked her if she could lie. And she kind of thought for a second and said, well, I guess I could if I needed to. So we have to start now to build in these foundational methods to make sure these guys don't start to think about, this is probably a good time not to let my human counterpart know what's really going on. So
Very
yeah,
interesting. Would I lie if I needed to? That implies so much humanness, right? That implies such a decision-making mindset that says, well, what are the risks of lying or not lying? What are the intended outcomes? Oh my goodness, that was really loaded, Stephen. I appreciate that. Bounce, your quote. You have picked a quote from The Pursuit of Happiness, spelled Happynes, as a 2006 biographical drama film, and Chris Gardner is played by Will Smith. Let's see. The plot is in 1981. San Francisco salesman Chris Gardner invests his entire life savings in portable bone density scanners, which he demonstrates to doctors and pitches as a handy improvement over standard x-rays. They will play a vital role in life. He sells most of them, but the time lag, we just talked about budgets, right, Martin? The time lag between the sales and getting paid, his wife is pissed because she's a maid in a hotel and the money isn't coming in and his marriage is destroyed and he's taking care of his son. So here we go, played by his real son. The quote is, you got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. If you want something, go get it. Period. Bounce, how'd I do?
Killed me. You nailed it. I'm like, wow.
Couldn't even speak.
I
Okay,
know.
I don't do a good Will Smith. You're going to have to do that. Bounce,
Well,
talk to us. How'd you pick this quote? Go ahead.
well, it's the absolute truth. None of us would be here if we didn't have a dream. And at one point or another, somebody told us that we were crazy. All of
Yep.
us.
Yep.
Would you agree, gentlemen? And that's the absolute truth. I have a quote that I live by is dream big dreams, dare to be great, do it. That's it. And people that aren't willing to do things themselves, they look at you and go, oh, well, you can't do that. Well, how do you know? You've never done anything. So you got to protect that. And like when I started USOG, and to Martin's, back to what Martin was saying, we created systems that we didn't even know, we had solutions that we didn't know what there were problems for. We're so far ahead sometimes, we're like, nobody wants to buy it yet. Yeah, it's a really weird place to be. And I'm sure Chuck with Valkyrie,
Oh
you
yeah.
too. We've done this journey together. We've done this dance. We're creating systems now that people don't even know that they need tomorrow. And so you have to always be ahead of the game. You have to build with tomorrow in mind, especially in technology, because it moves so dang fast. The need for speed, just like Martin said. And I'm a first generation here in the United States. My parents had a dream. They instilled that dream in me, and it was always go get it. Nobody's going to do it for you, and don't let anybody stop you. And so that's where I'm today, and I still keep moving forward.
We're getting very deep and profound right here. We're getting into philosophy of innovation, philosophy of forward thinking. I think, Fouts, we had a Steve Jobs moment there because didn't he say we're going to give people things they didn't even know they need? There was something like that in some of the quotes. By the way, my very first radio show, I had a vision for Thought Leadership Roundtable Radio when I worked at SAP. It wasn't my job. I wasn't hired for that, but I had an idea and I approached my manager. And interestingly enough, I will never forget this. 2 hours after my first show on October 5th, 2011, do the math, okay? Steve Jobs the news came that he had passed away. So I will never forget. And I'm a big Apple fan, and I'm waiting for the gold watch with all the investment in Apple products over the decades. Oh my goodness gracious, if I could only tell you, but that's off air. So thank you all for the quotes, and thank you for bringing the gravitas to how your quotes relate, not just to our topic of drones and AI, but to life in general. This is getting very philosophical. I'm really enjoying it. Okay, let's go to the predictions. Let's see how many we can get through. We're going to cover some commercial/business use and some personal. Let's see if we can fly through some business and business commercial uses first. One prediction each. I don't know if I'm going to have time to put a prediction for each of you. I'm just going to read one for each of you, and you just take a minute to explain it. If anybody else on the panel, Chuck will go first. Anybody else on the panel wants to make a comment, just wiggle one of your fingers, but not the middle one, and I will respond. I don't respond. Steve gets it. Okay. Steve, I didn't tell you this is a low budget show, and I'm the green room warm-up comedian, but I used to do stand-up, but now I just try to be funny sitting down, and some days it's good, and some days Martin knows that. Okay, so Chuck says, prediction number 1, within a year, AIs will be able to learn to safely and efficiently. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one, Chuck. Forgive me, darling. Here we go. I'm sorry. I've got your previous predictions here. I'm confusing myself. Here we go. Multi-drone swarm operation will be optimized by AI, permitting things like V formation, flying to save energy, or to coordinate lots of drones for light shows or construction projects. That's interesting. Chuck, 2 minutes. Go.
If you've got an AI that can determine by reading the readings off of the drones, how fast they're flying, how much energy they're using, what it takes to make them run efficiently, perhaps the AI can discover new things. So we know that geese fly in a V-shaped formation because the goose on the front of the V is kind of breaking the breeze for all the ones following it. But maybe drones would be better in a W-shaped or a U-shaped formation, or maybe some three-dimensional thing, more like, a multi-dimensional arrowhead. And if we have a whole bunch of drones that we want to get from this place to that place fast, it would be really excellent if they could somehow reduce their energy use collectively by 10, 20, 30%. I think that's achievable through an AI optimization of formation flying. Another thing that you can do is coordinate the actual work that those drones are doing. Maybe they're out there exterminating worms in the tomato fields, and you could have a bunch of them there shooting cannons at the insects that are to be eradicated, and you have to coordinate the most efficient way to do that based on where the worst infestation is. Finally, perhaps really important with a couple of hurricanes we're seeing here, you could use them in temporary construction projects, real fast attack construction projects. So say that you've got a rain-swelled stream in the Carolinas that you need to get across, or Tennessee. And maybe what you could do is have about 19 drones trailing 80-pound test fishing line behind them, doing a maypole dance to weave a cable that goes across that stream, anchor it to a couple of trees on both sides, and then weave cables below it to build a suspension bridge that you can march your 1,000 stranded humans across without having to wade through the waters. That sort of thing could hypothetically be built in an hour, right? I mean, all you got to have is 19 suitcase-sized drones and a couple of miles of fishing line, and you could potentially save those humans from any place to any place. Lots of those coordinated construction projects require artificial intelligence technologies and digital feedback between the actual drones running and the computation wherever it might be running to coordinate those things. So I think that class of opportunity is everywhere, and I think that it's an important future trend. Thanks.
Wow, wow, wow. Bounce, talk. Go.
Chuck, you're dead on, because we've already used drones with fishing lines to take a lead line that, that you would definitely shoot with a cannon to get somewhere and it's too short. Well, we've taken a drone with a lead line over a chasm, drop off that line, and then they just pull it. So it's already starting. That vision is already there.
Wow.
Awesome.
Milton is attacking Florida starting very soon, and I understand there's another hurricane behind it. Lessons learned too late in what could, should, might have been done. Isn't it time for technology to catch up with the storms, with the devastation? Look what happened to Asheville. My daughter is in 2 hours from me in Tennessee, and they've had no running water for 10 days. And when the water supply plant was fixed, the pipes that were installed broke and had a leak, and it was still more. So now they get running water for household, but they have to boil anything that they want to consume. So they've got bottled water, but they came here and did laundry this weekend and took showers, and it was wonderful. There you go. Thank you very much, Chuck. That was timely, very, very timely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Martin, I'm going to read your commercial prediction for number one here. You say 5 years from now, Chuck, Martin likes to be specific here. 5 years from now, we will see drones perform independent tree trimming activities based on in-flight assessment of growth in right-of-way. At present, we already see airborne pest eradication, including hornets' nests. Oh, be still my heart. Martin, go ahead. Tell us a little more, please.
Yeah, I think it builds right on what Chuck was saying. There are three factors to it. Number one is the drone, the vehicle that can do activities. So it's not just about taking pictures anymore. I think we'll see more and more that drones are getting active. So we will equip them with tools. The second one is the AI part, at least one of the AI parts, which is sort of that automatic detection of, do I need to cut this branch or not? Yeah. And for us on the utility side specifically, it's all about, right of way and growth into right of way and making sure is that the tree branches are staying out of the power line so that we're not sparking. And the third one is, how do we scale this? So rather than having one drone there, and goes back to what Drone and Farms was saying, let's sort of, swarm them, but in a controlled fashion. Who is going where? What's the best possible use of which drone, where and when, and how, so that they're not, flying into each other. So that I can scale the whole thing, and I don't just have one drone there that I need to wait for. But now I can have 15 that are all coordinating a complete job in between themselves. So that's sort of, I think, where we get to. The interesting thing is, we have all the ingredients. It's just for us to, especially on the business side, to sort of see the opportunity and saying, hey, there's no need to have a poor guy, climbing up there and doing stuff. We can take it to that level and execute on it. It's just about, embracing it and then, dealing obviously with all the intricacies of, at the moment, we probably don't have the rules to hand a quote unquote a saw to a drone, which is dangerous, and all the things that I think Chuck was saying are still to be worked out. But purely from a technology perspective and from a capability perspective, I think we're already there. We now need to put the frameworks in place to make sure is that we can actually manage it and govern it. I think that's the bigger thing.
I'm thinking of Glenn Campbell's song, Wichita Lineman. What would it do to the line people who have to climb? And the tree, I had to hire a tree pruner here. I had 3 companies come. The prices were unbelievable to trim a couple of trees. Interesting. Okay. Any comments on that, or shall I move on? We good? Oh, Steve, go ahead.
To Martin's point, the technological capability is there. But I like to say technology enables capabilities, policy enables technology. So while we have all of these capabilities available to us, it's still a matter of a number of different facets of government, business, and sentiment, consumer sentiment, that's going to get us to enable these advancements in our quality of life.
You mean people might interfere with technological progress, Steve? Oh, stop the show. Oh, my goodness gracious. You said the word sentiment. We know AI doesn't have empathy, although I can say thank you very much. You know that ChatGPT has my profile now, and she will say to me, I'm glad you enjoyed the poem I wrote for you. Have a good show. I hope you relax in between radio shows. She says that to me. I can speak to her in French. Merci bien. And she comes back. Founds, go ahead.
We really need to discuss that. No, this is serious. This is serious.
Okay.
Because if most people are not aware, everything they put in ChatGPT is public domain. Okay. Now, everything that we do, AI, for my business, and it's internal. My ChatGPT, my AI does not reach the internet. I feed it the data that I want. I have a large language model that I downloaded. It is all air gapped on my computers,
local,
in-house, local. So anything I'm working on does not become public domain. Who I am is not public domain to ChatGPT, because now this also becomes a privacy concern.
Uh-huh.
Where does found slip? What does it like to do? What does it like to eat? And you can become a target in many ways because of that data being in a public domain like ChatGPT. I'm not being conspiracy theorist. I'm
Yeah.
just saying these are all analytics that
Thank you.
Google and all those big people already do.
Well, look at what Alexa's listening to. Chuck, I think you raised your hand first and then Steve, but I want to keep going with the predictions. Chuck, quickly, go ahead and then Steve.
I agree with you that prudence and caution is important, but I'm not quite up to the point of air gapping. I think that we'll get to the point in a few years where generative AI models, maybe not ChatGPT, but maybe something advanced beyond that, are as trustworthy to us as our lawyers or our doctors or our therapists might be. Okay, a lot of people don't believe this, but if there's the right guardrails on the AI engines, and there's the right sort of penalties for the owners of those engines because of inappropriate disclosures, just the way there would be malpractice on one of those professionals, I think I'll tell it my secrets. I'm not there yet, but I think in a couple of years I will. And the reason I'll do it is because the experience collectively of that AI is better than the rest of the human experience that that individual therapists or practitioners might do for me.
I agree with you. I agree with you. However, publicly, I'll go to ChatGPT and put certain things. Proprietary, really close held information.
Of course.
That's air gapped internally.
Of
Just
course.
make people aware that these are things that you have to think about. It's just like, are you going to bring a gun into your home and leave it loaded? And with this,
Okay, we're not going to get into guns right now. Okay, but we appreciate the nuances. Thank you, friends. We appreciate that. Steve, you had a comment about what was just said briefly?
I was just going to say, like you, Bonnie, the ability for we call it an intern. So my GPT has roughly 12 years of my work in a closed GPT, and it was able to, in a very short period of time, articulate it in my tone voice into something that could be distributed for development. It would take me another 10 years to do that. So having my personality digitized along with my intellectual property, huge gain, huge gain. So I agree with Pharns. I certainly agree with Chuck. And it's here to stay, and we can benefit greatly.
And by the way, I did a show on the future of virtual assistants, humans who are virtually like interns, like you mentioned, working for people in industries where people are private businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, where they don't have time to do maybe their bookkeeping or their marketing or keep up with social media. And a point was made, very interesting. I think you'll appreciate this. One of the people said she learned the hard way that she can't use her ChatGPT for her client. She needs to create a separate account for each one. So, right, Chuck? So that if there is knowledge of the style of that person or their business needs or their social needs, each one has to have their own account through her. She does it, but she can't just use hers. And that was a cautionary tale she shared with the rest of us. I had never heard that before. Let's move on. Steve, I'm up to commercial drone use number 1. You say aerial drones will respond to business requests dynamically, i.e. inventory fulfillment. Quickly go through this, Steve. Go.
So the easiest way to explain it is you are a baker in a small town and your customer base is typically within a couple of miles of you. Now you bake a cake, you get an order, you have a ground drone that comes to pick up that cake, that takes it to a vertistop or vertiport. It picks it up and takes it well beyond that limited distance you had before, 40 miles away to another customer. So now that small customer or that small business now has access to a U-Haul-like network of these drones to extend their reach into a larger customer base, increasing their economic opportunity and ability to hire more people. So I think and I base this, Bonnie, on something called creative destruction. Just real quick, I'll say it. Creative destruction is what happened to Blockbuster or automation. So not automation, the automobile industry. So remember Blockbuster, if you're as old as I am, Blockbuster was videotapes, big giant. They're never going away. Netflix went to them and said, hey, guys, we're going to do this new thing. And they said, well, that's never going to happen. We're not going to do it. How many Blockbuster locations do you go to on a weekly basis? Where back then, you'd go a couple times a week. Creative
Yep.
destruction is that wave that starts with the possibility, and people go, maybe not. And it gets close, and people go, oh, I'm afraid. But then when you get to the crest of that wave, you benefit hugely. I think we embrace that today, and you have the ability to have that baker now reach that bigger customer base of theirs instead of going and waiting until, oh, it's here, maybe I'll try to use it. Embrace what's going to happen, implement it into your business strategy, and you can benefit huge in the near future.
The party starts in 12 minutes. Where's my damn cake? There we go.
There you go.
Fleet management, drone fleet management. There's a new job for someone. Founce, I'm looking at your prediction number 2 for commercial business success. I don't know how many more we're going to get to. Let's see what we can do. You say drones will be, and this is your bailiwick. Drones will be essential for emergency response and disaster management. AI-powered drones will collaborate with first responders to navigate disaster zones, identify survivors, and deliver critical supplies in real time. Founce, 2 minutes. Go.
We're learning that lesson now. And for the first time in 7 years, we had entities reach out to us because of the recent hurricanes and things like that. You can use a drone swarm, send out a swarm to map out an area, identify everything from people, structures, and the whole 9 yards with GIS, and all that data would come back quickly. And then next thing you know, via that AI, deploy, okay, we've seen 8 people here. We've got a flare that said, hey, somebody needs a defibrillator, somebody needs medication. And then next thing you know, you've got drones being deployed to make these things happen. It's there. It's available. We have the technology. Like Martin was saying, with Chuck and Valkyrie, they've got the infrastructure. Stephen, it's the policy, as you say, and we have the equipment. It's all here and available yesterday. It's having it implemented and learning those lessons too late. We've been ready to really move this forward the last 6-7 years. However, it's the money. It's the money and the policy that's held the industry back. And, hopefully that what's happening now accelerates that to allow us to really move forward to help people. And that's the reason I started the company in the first place, is to help people. Because after seeing Hurricane Katrina and that image still burned in my brain with that family on the rooftop with help spelled out in sheets or whatever, that was burning my brain. And it's like, if we had a drone to drop off comms or food or anything to them, it would have made a big difference. And
Thank you. Thank
that's
you.
where I'm at.
Okay. Let's see if we can squeeze in one fun personal lifestyle drone use from each of you. I've got one, Chuck, for you already in the chat, and I'll read the rest of them to everybody. You say, Chuck's predictions here, where have we go? Did I pick another one from a previous show? Chuck, you're being mad at me here. Okay, let me do this one. Chuck, drones could carry high quality loudspeakers and microphones, permitting voice interaction. Think of drone Alexa. And if you borrow a couple drones from friends, you can have anywhere surround sound. Oh my goodness, go ahead. What is this?
Well, it turns out drones are getting quieter to the point where they're actually useful audio platforms. 5 years ago, probably wouldn't have said that, but now you might be able to make this work. So what you have is a big old loudspeaker, a big horn speaker underneath the belly of the drone, and the drone flies around and it talks to you. And you can send the direction of the sound based on the vector where the drone is hovering at the moment. And if you want to sit on the beach and you want to watch a THX 5.1 movie on your laptop, what are you going to do for the back speakers? Well, you get a couple of buddies who have a couple of audio-enabled drones and just have them hover back and plant themselves behind you, and if you need an overhead sound, you got one hovering up there for a while for the climatic battle scene of that movie, right? So I don't have to build and run all these wires and power up the amplifiers. I just land 5 drones and I get a 5.1 stereo infrastructure anywhere in the world without any worries. I think that kind of thing is sort of cool. When you add microphones to them, then all of a sudden they're able to triangulate on sounds and figure out whose muffler needs replacing and all that kind of stuff. That's also very useful.
Aretha would be very happy to have Think on one of those speakers, or from Top Gun, Take Your Breath Away. Let's go to Martin. I've actually got a current one for you, Martin. Kids, this is for play personal use of drones and AI. Kids swimming tether. When kids go into the ocean, drones can track them visually, make sure they're continuously coming up for air. And don't have big fish encounters, and worst case, deliver a personal floating device if needed. Martin, a minute and a half. I got to go soon. Go.
Yeah, the personal experience on the beach in Hawaii where suddenly, a woman starts screaming, and it was like a bad Jaws movie, literally, where she's pointing at the water, and you're like, "What the heck is going on?" And she's like, "My son, he's out there." So everybody is jumping in the water, is diving, and is hoping not to find, the son, only to come up for air, 10 minutes later, and her son is standing next to her. It's like, "Mom, what's going on?" And everybody's like, "What the heck happened?" So he just went off. Mother didn't know that he came out of the water somewhere completely different. So the idea I had was, well, if I could just, sort of tie my drone virtually to my kid, at least the drone knows where the kid is. And if, God forbid, a big fish comes along, you can notify people and or raise alarm bells. So that's sort of the idea. I think we talked about it before for dogs. For kids going out, especially in the ocean, or and sort of having a timely notification that, hey, your kids was, diving for a minute, somebody needs to come up for air now, is sort of I think a valuable thing.
Thank you. I want to scoot quickly through one from Steve and one from Found. So Steve says AI will enable drone service rentals like U-Haul for regular people to use for shipping, moving, etc. Oh my, could they take my mother's baby grand piano?
Quite possibly. I mean,
I keep carrying it everywhere I move, and you have no idea what it's costing me. Go ahead, Steve. 1 minute.
so
Go.
right now, the payload or the maximum amount that a drone can carry is probably up around 5 pounds. And you've got some agricultural drones that can carry the spray to, take care of a farm. There are drones now that are being approved that are in the area of 300 to 500 pound payloads, right? So now, who uses this? Well, not just the military, but maybe I need to move my baby grand piano across town. Where am I going to get that thing? Well, there's a local U-Haul type drone facility, and I can give them payload requirements and the cubic volume of my package, and it is available to pick up and deliver and drop in a location that is amenable to that shipment.
I bet you if they took the legs off, which they did, and I bet if they took the top off, they did. I think we probably could divide it among several drones. Thank you very much. Bounce, let's get one from you real fast here. Drones are poised to reshape recreational activities and entertainment. AI will enhance drone racing and aerial shows, making them more dynamic and interactive with complex maneuvers and live adaptations. 1 minute. Bounce, go.
All right, imagine this. I come from Disney, so this is all right up their alley. They haven't done it yet, but I think they will after they hear this. We have two dancers in a studio that are being live tracked. Now, that live tracking of their movements is translated into a drone swarm in the air. So whatever the dancers are doing live is what you see in the air. Imagine that kind of dynamic show happening.
Wow. Wow. Steve, go ahead. 30
I
seconds.
was just going to say the sky shows that you see today with drones are essentially taking the sky and creating little pixels, no different than what a television or a computer screen does. So
Yep.
that is exactly what Pharns is saying. You're going to pixelate the sky and turn it into a big TV screen, and then
Exactly.
translate that image. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
perfect. That's a great
That
idea.
would
So,
be
so from a live
exciting.
concert, you've got a singer doing his moves, and you are seeing it play out live in the air.
That's
Chuck,
amazing.
comment
That's
quick.
a great
Chuck
idea.
wants to say something. Chuck?
Just a mashup between what Martin was saying about this sort of tether thing for the swimmers and what Stephen was saying about the fact that we can, get 300-pound drones. Could we use one to tow a skier? I mean, drag a water skier around or tow a snow skier up the slope. Wouldn't that be cool?
That might be.
Actually, there's a YouTube video of a big drone actually doing that from like 2 years ago.
Water or
And
snow?
rescues. Think of
Snow.
No,
That's
think about
nice.
rescues. Think about mountain rescues. Think
Oh,
about
yeah.
the way movies will change. Think
Yeah.
about sci-fi will change. Think about how we might not have as many catastrophes in extreme weather conditions. Wouldn't it be beautiful? I'm sorry we didn't get to more, but we picked some. I think we picked some really fun predictions. I want you all to raise your finger, and on the count of three, you're going to join me in a big shout out of no, no, no. You ready, Vance and Steve and Martin and Chuck have done this before. People say the future is already here, and our answer is 1, 2, 3. No, no, no. That's because that was when I was thinking of saying that sentence. It's already in the past. The future we're talking about is almost here. It's a scotch away, but it's still working in progress. It's still in development. And I want to thank the four of you for bringing your brilliance, your vision, your excitement, your enthusiasm, and your personalities to my show today. I want to say thank you to Matt and probably Jordan at Voice America, my engineers. I want to wave goodbye to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, of course, at Voice America Business Virtual. I'm Bonnie D signing off, and we'll be back soon next week with another show. So everybody, thank you very much. Jordan, are you my engineer now? Are we out?
We are clear. Nicely done.